Hello, it's time for another Bony Tony show. Yes, it's Bony Tony here, and the clock behind me shows time. But my argument today is to debate whether time actually exists or not. Now, I have various people here to help me. Whether they'll join in the debate or not, I don't know. I have Jesus, and I have a baby. Turn around, face the camera, a bit shy. I may bring them into the argument or I may not need them, we'll see. Now, my first point is, people assume time exists, don't they? I've got a clock on the wall, it tells me the time. I go to bed when it's time to go to bed. I get up when it's time to get up. And I check the clock to see when the 6 o'clock news is about to start, yeah? So that proves time exists, I guess. Well, it proves that clock exists. Where's it gone? But does it prove that time exists? Rather like, does the Bible prove that God exists or not? What do you think, Jesus, to that proposition? Well, I think he exists because he was my dad. Yeah, well, that's a good point. But where does it say he was your dad? It says he was your dad in the Bible, which is a book. Anyway, right, so let's get back to time. Now, what is time? Well, let's take a unit of time. A unit of time, probably the easiest one to take is a day, because a day is subdivided up into hours and minutes and milliseconds, all based on the length of the day, which is approximately 24 hours, right? The day is that. Oh, hang on, I can't do it. Do you see how the globe is going round once? When the globe has gone round once, that's a day. All the other units of time are a division of that. But if it was Mars, it would go round quicker or longer, so the subunits would be quicker or longer, so it's all relative. A year is this. Let's see if I can show this. There's the sun. And there's, I can't do it, there's the Earth going round the sun. That's a year. But you see, it's not actually, it's motion. It's all determined by the speed of the revolution of the Earth and the speed of the orbiting of the Earth round the sun, both of which are just kind of like objects moving, and they have gravity and stuff like that. So the gravity makes Earth stick a certain distance from the sun and go round it at a certain speed, and the size of the sun creates the gravity, which makes the Earth do all of those things. If it was a lot smaller, it wouldn't happen. So it's all to do with motion and objects. It's to do with objects and motion of those objects, which never stops. That is what time is. It's a measurement of movement of objects, according to which object you happen to be living on, and the size of the star, and so on and so on and so on. Now, I mean, I was going to say the sun itself revolves around the galaxy. Now, I was going to get a galaxy bar, but I haven't really got time to go to Sainsbury's to get one. But I have got another chocolate bar. Turn it the right way around. There you go. So imagine that's the. I can't. Imagine this is the galaxy. Well, the sun will go round this galaxy. Imagine this galaxy is much bigger than the sun up there. The sun will rotate around this galaxy, and that is thousands of years. And that in that time, because like the sun is in a different position, sometimes it's a bit like the tilt of the Earth towards the sun. Sometimes it's in a warm time, and sometimes it's in a cold time, and that might explain long-term climate change, like ice ages and so on. Something must, yeah. Don't just happen, do they? They are created by something, and I suspect it's that. Although, yes, mankind has made it worse, blah, blah, blah. Now, what else do I want to say? Yeah, so some people say time started at the Big Bang. It didn't exist before. And when the universe stops expanding and all the atoms basically cease to move, and everything is black and still, that'll be the end of time. Fair point, because that's the end of movement, which, as I said before, movement determines time. If you, for instance, want to think of things like world records, the fastest 100-meter world record, that's just a measurement of speed, which is movement. The athlete doesn't need the clock to run that fast. Their real aim is to be the fastest in the race. It just so happens that some people like to measure the time they've taken to run that 100 meters or swimming or anything else like that. Now, if everything is motion and not time, if there's no time, there's no past, no present, and no future. Well, that can easily be covered because, like, the past is gone, right? So it doesn't exist, right? The future hasn't happened yet, so it doesn't exist, right? The present, what is that? Is that today? Is today the present? Well, half of it's already gone, so that's the past, so it doesn't exist. Half of it's not happened yet, so that's the future. It doesn't exist. So what exists? This second? Well, part of that second, if you stop it at any point, has already gone, therefore doesn't exist. And the bit that hasn't happened yet doesn't exist because it hasn't happened yet. So you can slice it as small as you like to the point where it goes out of existence. It's a millionth of a millionth of a millionth of a millionth of a second, might be argued to be the present, but you could even slice that up if you wanted to, theoretically. So there's no present, therefore there's no time. Therefore, like I say, it's just motion. Now, if there was time, and if you could see the past, the present, and the future, as everything influences everything else, and things can only happen once at any one point, happen one way, despite there being a multiple of possibilities, that would mean that if time did exist and you could see a picture of everything from start to end, it just would be motionless, wouldn't it? Because everything could only happen one way, could only have ever happened one way, and the past led to the present, and that led to the future, and things can't happen multiple different ways. They can only happen one way, so there would be no change, and there's no change possible. Everything is predetermined, and therefore you might as well not have motion or choice. However, that is not the case because, as we've seen, there's movement but there's no time, and this means that essentially everything is chaos because, like, if it's all about movement and not time, for instance, if two cars crash together, hang on, let's do this. I don't know if I can do it. So the car's moving along, and then another car crashes into it. One movement is affected by another movement. If I cross the road and I'm run over by a bus, my movement is ended by another movement, which was kind of nothing to do with my movement, but which influenced my movement in a very big way. So if a car was going on the left-hand side and suddenly swung over to the right unexpectedly, that could hit me. So that would determine all my future movements and quite possibly put an end to them. And all determined by one random, unpredictable movement by another object. So that's really what's happening. It was random which two human objects created us when they got together. Yeah, we didn't have any say in that, did we? There's no logic to it, we didn't determine what time zone what era it happened in, or what location, country, or even planets, let's face it happened in. All of that was random as far as we're concerned. We're all external influences of motion. But while we're alive, and we can be influenced by those factors, of course, but then nothing can stop our brains deciding what we want to do next, can it? That is free will. It exists. I can determine to eat a banana. I'm not going to eat that because I haven't peeled it yet. Or some potatoes. Or both at the same time if I want. I can mash the potatoes and I can mash the banana into the potatoes and then put gravy on it. Sounds quite nice, actually. But you might not do that, but I am free to do that, and there's nobody that can stop me doing that. So we do have free will. And then as that example already shows, we can translate our free will, our decision, once we've arrived at it, into action. So I decide to eat the combination of banana and potato with gravy on it. I then make it and I eat it. That's fine. That nobody else has influenced that. I alone have influenced that. So we do have free will. And as I said before, there is potential chaos, as any of us can be run over by a car at any time. And that's nothing to do with us or our decision-making process. That is not free will. So there's a mixture of external chaos and internal free will. But our free will is limited by what we can decide to do and what we are capable of doing. So, for instance, a very poor person in, I don't know, Afghanistan cannot afford to jet off to a holiday in Mallorca anytime soon. But we can, because we're not poor. Even it doesn't stop us moaning, does it? So anyway, so that means that there's in answering the question of whether free will or predetermined destiny is ruling, I would say free will does have a part to play, and therefore you cannot predict the future. It's not all predetermined, because one day we might feel like eating meat, and the next day we might decide to eat fish. Nothing is predetermined. We might turn vegetarian. So we never know. We might think we know what's going to happen, what we like, what we don't like, but that can change, and therefore we can't even predict our own future. So anyway, so going back to summing up then, there's no time, there's no destiny, it's just the chaos of things moving, bumping into each other, and but we do have a certain amount of free will, despite the limitations of where we find ourselves and what we can and cannot do and think. We do have free will, therefore everything is not predetermined. Anything can happen, because every time we decide to do anything, it influences what somebody else or something else, or what happens to them, because everything is an object and everything is influenced by other objects around it. So you're free to do what you want. To sum up, and let's just hope you don't get hit by a bus and like galaxies don't collide or anything to prevent you doing what you want to do. So with that positive message to finish off my talk about time, motion, free will and destiny, that's all for now from Bony Tony. If there's anything you want me to explain or discuss any other time, just let me know. And bye bye for now. Bye bye.